God grant me courage and strength. Leviticus Chapter 15. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and say to them, When any man has a discharge from his body, his discharge is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanliness in regard to his discharge, whether his body runs with his discharge, or his body is stopped up by his discharge, it is his uncleanliness. And every bed is unclean on which he who has the discharge lies, and everything on which he sits shall be unclean. And whoever touches his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And he who sits on anything on which he who has the discharge sat shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And he who touches the body of him who has the discharge shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And if he who has the discharge spits on him who is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. Any saddle on which he who has the discharge rides shall be unclean. And whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until evening. And he who carries away any of these things shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And whomever the one who has the discharge touches has not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And the vessel of earth that he who has the discharge touches shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he who has the discharge is cleansed of his discharge, then he shall count for himself 7 days for his cleansing, wash his clothes, bathe his body in running water, and then he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take two for himself, 2 turtle doves, 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and give them to the priest. And then the priest shall offer them, the one who has a sin offering, the other as a burnt offering. So the priest shall make atonement for him before the Lord because of his discharge. And if any man has an emission of semen, then he shall wash all his body in water, and be unclean until evening. And any garment and any leather on which there is semen, it shall be washed with water, and be unclean until evening. And also, when a woman lies with a man, if there is an emission of semen, they shall bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And if a woman has a discharge, and the discharge from her body is blood, she shall be set apart 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until evening. And everything that she lies on during her impurity shall be unclean, and also everything that she sits on shall be unclean. And whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And whoever touches anything that she sat on shall wash his clothes, and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. And if anything is on her bed, or on anything on which she sits, then he touches it, and she shall be unclean until evening. And if any man lies with her at all, so that her impurity is on him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean. And if a woman has a discharge of blood for many days, other than at the time of her customary impurity, or if it runs beyond her usual time of impurity, all the days of her unclean discharge shall be as the days of her customary impurity, and she shall be unclean. Every bed on which she lies, all the days of her discharge shall be to her as the bed of her impurity. And whatever she sits on shall be unclean, as the uncleanliness of her impurity. Whoever touches those things shall be unclean, and he shall wash his clothes and bathe in water, and be unclean until evening. But if she is cleansed of her discharge, then she shall count for herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take for herself 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, bring them to the priest to the door of the tabernacle of meeting. And then the priest shall offer one as a sin offering, the other as a burnt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for her before the Lord for the discharge of her uncleanliness. And thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanliness, lest they die in their uncleanliness, when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. And this is the law for one who has a discharge, and for him who emits semen and is unclean thereby, and for her who is indisposed because of her customary impurity, and for one who has a discharge, either man or woman, and for him who lies with her, who is unclean. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you can follow me on this journey. Have a blessed day. Amen.